folks, this is the Nutty Knife Guy, and today I will be bringing you, along with my co-host Jolly Roger, or at least partially that. He didn't make it out to the war post with me this time because I forgot him downstairs, so I grabbed the head that was upstairs. Anyway, I will be reviewing this budget out the front, the Delta Force Spearpoint double-edged out the front automatic knife. I picked this up super cheap at a flea market. I didn't even know what brand it was because it's not branded on the knife anywhere. And it didn't come in its original box. I'm not even sure if this is secondhand or not. It took about an hour of surfing through the internet to actually identify it. And it did come with this crappy little belt sheath that it's barely worth mentioning. And I kind of tossed it over my shoulder when I looked at it. Not sure where it is. But you find these on the internet between $35 and $50 depending where you go. And for that kind of money, even I didn't spend that kind of money. I spent a lot less than that on this. But for that kind of money, I would have been pretty happy with this knife. I'm not a big fan about the fronts. I don't like the way the blade is offset from the center of the handle, the grips. I've never seen any of them that were where you could really get a decent grip on them. They don't have a hand guard, so because you don't have a decent grip, if you're stabbing for something soft and squishy and you hit something hard, your hand goes like this and you get cut. This one's really heavy. And most of them have icebreakers on there, or glass breakers, excuse me. And I took the one off of this one along with the pocket clip because the icebreaker held the glass breaker held the pocket clip on, and I'm not going to carry this. This has become, the only reason I really bought this at all is that I didn't have any out the fronts in my knife collection at all. And this kind of filled the hole. But what I've been really using this for is just something to fidget with while I'm watching TV or something. And it's great for that. But this is a pretty solid build for an off-brand knife. It's made to look to me like either, a Hogue exploit or a Microtech. That's what they want you to think it is. But of course, at $35 to $50, it's not. And it's mystery steel. I think one of the websites that I saw it on listed it 440C. I will check that and put it at the end of the video maybe. But it's not bad. It wasn't very sharp when I got it. But like I said, I don't know if this was secondhand or not. I don't think so because it didn't really show much signs of just use wear. But I put an edge on it. It's still not the kind of edge that I would really like, but it's a serviceable edge. I'll work on it. It is not very easy to sharpen. Now I did take this out to the war post. I've already done that. These video segments are not in order. And it acquitted itself pretty well when I was chopping in the wood with it, while hacking in the wood. And I repeated the cloth test from my last week's video with pretty much the same results. It seems like it's really hard to slash through even thin cloth when it's protecting something. Non-scientific test, of course. But all in all, this came off pretty well. So it's got a nice snappy action. It's very well built. It's not going to fall apart on you. I would highly recommend if you use this knife or really even the expensive out the fronts, that you do this, go reverse grip, cap the knife with your thumb, lose that stupid glass breaker so you can do that. Let's call the glass breaker what it is. It's a skull crusher. It's just the companies don't want to sound evil. But get that glass breaker off of there so you can comfortably get your thumb up there and use it. Reverse grip in case you are attacked by lightsaber wielding ninja lizard men. because if you are attacked by such critters, especially with this one, it's double-edged. You can stab and rip, and really do some damage with this thing. It didn't really want to slash very well in the reverse grip, though, so you're pretty much going to have to do the stab and slash. It's really optimized for the saber grip, but it's really a thrusting weapon like most of the dagger style blades are. So we're going to take it out to the war post, and you can watch me flail about and see what you think of it. If you do like my slashing antics, my edged weapon antics, please subscribe, share, comment, like the videos, trying to build things up. Now, before we go out to the war post, I just want to say that I'm going to be reviewing a lot of budget knives. And the reason is this, is that I want to make more knife people. And the way you do that is that you get the person that goes out to buy their first knife, and it's not really a knife person. Maybe your fisherman needs a tackle box knife, or a hunter needs a hunting knife. And the fisherman is into fishing, not necessarily into knives, but he needs a knife that can, cut the line and cut out snags and skin fish and all this. So he goes out and buys a knife, and it's probably, and let's face it, it's not going to be a Tops or a Spyderco or something like that for knife, most generally, because they're not knife people. They're going to get the least expensive knife that they can, that they think will do the job. And same thing with a hunter. He may be into hunting, he may be into guns, but he may be not really into knife. He's going to get the least expensive thing that's going to let him dress his kill. Right? Now, the thing is what we need to do as knife people is get those people to go out and buy that first knife just because they need a knife to do something else, and make knife people out of them. So if they go out and buy an M-Tac or a Rampant or a Frost Cutlery, and then go on the internet and find out what people think of them, first they'll be able to find somebody that has reviewed these budget blades, and second of all, you'll hopefully find people that will acknowledge that they are not the best quality, but on the other hand, sometimes they're not necessarily the worst, and they can get the job done. And you will let them know the limits of the knife they bought. And hopefully, they will turn around and go out and maybe, okay, well, this knife is pretty cool, and it's working and everything. Like, wait, that one that guy on the internet talked about, that company seemed really good, and I really like just playing with this knife, holding it. I like the way it feels. I'll go ahead and buy another knife. Maybe more expensive knife, maybe not. But knives are pretty cool, just all by themselves. Okay? And pretty soon he's got a collection. And that's really important, is to bring more people into being knife people, the knife community. Like there's a gun community. And it's very important because I like my guns too. This is a knife channel. I like knives better than guns, but I like my guns. And the Second Amendment is under assault in this country. These common sense gun laws that keep taking rights away, taking bits and pieces of your rights away until the right's privilege. And knives are not immune to that. Once they get if they get the guns, they'll come after the knives, and they already have in a lot of places. This thing would get me tossed in jail if I had it in a lot of states. And I got that was just because I didn't open that time just because I didn't have my thumb in quite the right place. Right. Up until recently in New York, if you had a knife you could flick open, even if it was really hard to flick open with one hand. It was a gravity knife. It was illegal. You'd go to prison. Right? And if you don't think that they'll come after the knives after they get the guns, look at what's going on in Great Britain right now. They're rounding off the points of table knives. They have boxes on the street turning your knives because knives are illegal. They got rid of the guns. Knife crime skyrocketed. Well, not knife crime. That's the term that the weapons grabbers use. Crimes using a knife skyrocket. So what do they turn around? They make it harder for ordinary, average British citizens who are law-abiding to have their own knives to protect them from the thugs with knives. Makes no sense, but that will happen here. So, and the only way to prevent that is to have a whole lot of people that are into knives. Because the only thing that's protecting the Second Amendment really is that there are a lot of people out there that are into guns, that have a lot of guns, that continue to buy guns, right? And are willing to put in the time and the money and the effort to oppose these anti-guns legislations. There's not enough of them because they're losing ground all the time. We've had some decent victories lately, but in that I think we've lost ground. Right? And the NRA is a hot mess right now. Gun Owners of America and the Buckeye Firearms Association, there are others out there, USCCA, that are organized effort and everything like that, but they are supported by individual gun owners. It's the individuals that are holding the line, and that's going to be the same. It has to be the same way with knives, and we have to have more of us. So I'm going to review budget knives. I'm going to be honest about them. I'm going to tell you what they can do, what they can't do. Right? And I'm hoping that new knife people will understand that they can be knife people. They can have a collection and have 20 budget knives that are $20 to $50 or even $20 and lower. And if they're happy with that collection and they learn a little bit about knives and the history of knives and things like that, then we become the knife community becomes stronger. So given that, I'm going to take this budget knife that a lot of knife guys out there will malign because it's not Microtech or Benchmade or whatever. But you know what? A neophyte knife cut person, or a younger kid might just think this is cool, and if he can leave it, and if his parents get it for him, and it's legal, and he likes this knife, and he develops a penchant for knives. Well, like I said, he wants to learn about it. He wants to learn about history, how to use them, what they're used for, all of that. Then we have someone there to stand against us. Stand for us and stand against the people that want to deprive ordinary citizens of any means of personal protection. So we got to get them done. We can't look down on people that can't afford a $200 or $300 or even sometimes even a $50 knife. We can't look down on them. We have to encourage them. Well, that's a nice looking knife. Say something, something. Maybe later on you'll spend money and get something better, but for right now, that's a great knife. Right? It'll do what you need it to do. It'll cut stuff. All right, so we're going to take the Delta Force spearpoint out the front folder, out to the war post, now that I'm done pontificating. Excuse me. And we'll see how she fares. But as you can see, as I said, I filmed this segment last, so she fared pretty well. No damage and everything like that. I think I'm going to have to sharpen her up a bit now that I've hacked into some wood with her. But for the price they're selling them for, and I will stick a card in the edit when I edit. I'll put it up for either that, or I'll put it down in the. I'll put the specs down. I'll put the specs in the video when I'm in editing, if I can, I'll put links to where you can find these. Although I don't know if YouTube will allow that because they're already coming from the knives. But we'll go to the war post, and I'll swing this around like a big fat maniac knife guy. And hopefully, if you are not informed and or educated, which given it's me, you probably won't be, you at least get a laugh. Let's go play let's go play with knives. Okay, now for this test I am going to be wearing some work gloves. These are just, dropped one there. These are just run-of-the-mill ordinary work gloves, not particularly cut resistant or anything, but they're fairly thick and should protect me a little bit. Now I'm going to wear these particularly with this knife because it has no handguard. So if I stab at something that's supposed to be squishy and I hit something hard, I could slide down the knife and the handle and cut myself severely. And I don't want to do that. So, safety first. This is the Delta Force double-edged spear point out the front automatic knife against the war post. And I am wearing the glove here just in case. 8 angles of attack. One more time. I kind of lost control of myself there and thrust a couple of times, but it seems to be holding up pretty well. Okay, I'm not seeing any damage on the blade for that. Let's try that in reverse grip. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I took off the icebreaker and the pocket clip for this because the icebreaker held on the pocket clip. And this is reverse grip, so I could cap that knife nice and securely. It's not too handy in reverse grip. It's really designed to be used in saber grip, but thought I'd give it a shot. Okay, we'll go back to saber grip and do the 8 angles of thrusting. And this is where I worry about this. Okay, we'll finish this up with some more pretty decent thrusting. Alright, the lock's holding up. I was a little worried about that. I'm not seeing any tip roll. The tip was a little bit rounded off to begin with, since I got this second hand. Picked this up at a flea market, like I said. I don't know if it's second hand or not, to tell you the truth. But the tip wasn't completely sharp to begin with, and that's okay with a double-sided knife, double-edged knife. Okay, let's try the reverse grip. It's biting in there pretty good. So far, so good. Okay, let's just try a couple of hard jabs. Not bad. Okay, just a couple of random whacks. almost slipped up a blade like I was afraid of. Which is why this would be best served in a personal protection role in reverse grip. All right, that's done. I've got a bottle of water here with an old rag wrapped around it to simulate some clothing. Let's see if we can slash through that clothing and get into the bottle. Bring it over here. Well, nothing went through at all. No how. We'll try that again. Not getting through that fabric. Let's try that again. Just like last time on the Yoheben knife. Not getting through the cloth on the bottom. Let's take that off and try it without. I can see where I scratched it, but it didn't go through. Let's try it this way. Yeah, I got through so cleanly that it really didn't start to leak. Let's try a different kind of slash. Yeah, see, now that was a nice clean cut. And unprotected, it went on through. Okay, back in the house. And this is the cut that I made on the bottle. Angle 1 cut. After I took off the cloth. And that cut, I think, just kind of superseded the other more shallow cut because I cut across it. And you can see here where it was scratched through the cloth. I think you can anyway. Yeah. Right there. With the cloth on it. Now, if you watched last week's video with the Yoheben assault knife, tactical assault knife, there's those air quotes again. You'll find out, you'll see that even with a much larger blade, it was a straight cutting edge and it didn't slash through that cloth. Totally unscientific test. I understand. But it still gives people who use knives for personal protection something to think about. Now, that target I have out there has a lot of swing and give to it. So even a sharp knife is going to start to push that away. But again, it makes the target dynamic. Because it's very possible that if somebody sees a blade coming at their appendage, they're going to want to pull that appendage away. Now, weather permitting, I am going to do a testing on the recurve. I wanted to do this test on this budget out the front knife because there are a lot of people that want an out the front knife because they're kind of in fashion now, and not everybody can shell out $200 or $300 for a Microtech or a Hogue. So, as I said in the introduction to this, in the tabletop review, I picked that up for 15 bucks at a flea market. I don't know if it was secondhand. I didn't even know what the brand name was. I had to kind of spend a couple of hours online identifying it. But altogether, the knife held up pretty well. Take a look at it again. Now, here's that nice snappy action again. Now, I don't think that this tip was ever sharp because, and I don't think it was meant to be. I think because it was double edged, they just brought the cutting edge all the way around the tip. It is still pretty sharp even after slicing through wood. And I keep forgetting to show you close-ups of my wooden target out there to see where this thing was biting in. But on the video, you can see where I was stabbing into it and having to pull it out pretty hard. So for now, like I said, I got this at a flea market really, really cheap. But online, they're going between 35 and 50 bucks depending on where you get them. So for that, I mean, it's got a nice, snappy, reliable action. It's a nicely built knife. It's mystery steel. I think it says, when one of the websites that are selling it, I think it says 440 steel. Some of them don't list it at all. It doesn't say anything at all about the blade or where it's made or what it's made from on the knife itself. But I'm thinking this is a fairly decent 440A or maybe 420C. But I'm happy for what I paid for it. It also came with kind of a crappy nylon bell sheath that is now, for me, carrying a flashlight holder. That's got a Velcro back, and I put a Velcro back on my cabinet downstairs, and I keep my emergency thunderstorm / tornado power going out flashlight handy that way in it. Not really worth much for carrying this knife. But overall, if you want it out the front and you don't want to pay as much as you can for a decent gun like a Ruger Security 6 for a knife, or you just don't want to spend $300 on a knife, this is the way to go. For me, this was kind of a proof of concept. I really never liked out the fronts, but I hadn't handled many of them. So, like, I buy a lot of cheap knives like that, you know, and not all of them, and by cheap I don't mean junk, I just mean inexpensive. I buy a lot of them, like MTEX and TAC Force, to see if I like a style of knife before I spend money on something of that style that's made better. So I just wanted to see if I would like an out the front knife as much as I would to pay $300 for it. And the answer is no. Not because this knife is bad. I just really still don't like out the fronts as carry knives. This is a really fun toy. I'm watching movies on the computer or something like that, and I'm sitting there and I'm using this thing like, just as a stress reliever and I know I have it out the front of my collection. That's it. This is not something I would carry, even though it held up well out there. I'm not crazy about the fact that it has no handguard. Even with the jimping on here and the texturing, it's slick. Like I said, my hand almost slid up the blade. It got to about right here before it was stopped. And if I hadn't, and who knows what would have happened, I would have already sliced myself up. But if you're a collector, you need an out front to plug a hole in your collection, and you don't want to pay, quite frankly, a ridiculous amount of money for a Microtech. I mean, they're good. They're, without a doubt, they're great knives, and so is the Hogues. If I get an expensive out to the front, it's probably going to be a Hogue. But the thing of it is, I always, with any of these really high-priced knives, I'm wondering how much you're paying just for the name Microtech. I'm figuring it's at like 50 bucks for a Microtech. The blade is worth $250, and then there's $50 because of the prestige element, the Gee Whiz element. Ooh, Microtech. I'm, officially a knife connoisseur because I own a Microtech. I'm not willing to pay that price for it, for a Microtech. If I hit the lottery tomorrow and I have like millions and gazillions of dollars, I might have a whole lot of the real high-end knives. I might have a whole lot of custom knives made for me, but I really don't want to spend a whole lot of money on and out the front. If I was going to spend $300 for a knife, it would probably be a high-end Benchmade or a Tops, or go to one of the really good custom knife makers if I was going to spend that much money on a knife. And one of these days I hope to be able to. But for a budget folder, this is the way to go. For a budget out the front, I don't think you can knock the Delta Force line. And I realize, you know, Delta Force is just marketing. It's like, you know, like Delta Force is really going to use this thing for $35. Yeah. But you know, it's all kinds. You know, there's all kinds of marketing gimmicks out there. You know, we have zombie killing blades as marketing gimmicks. This has held up well, and like I said, the most intriguing thing is this business that at least me, with my admittedly limited skill, cannot slash through cloth. Is something to think about. Okay, rambled on enough. So I'm going to let you go. And as always, you should remember to draw your knives only in just purpose. Sheathe them only with honor. And remember, without knives, life would be dull and pointless.